Now, as we start this presentation, some of this may be hard to see. This is not exactly the easiest thing to present or visualize. So as Jonas had mentioned earlier, you do all have a copy of this at your tables. So you'll be able to follow along and read some of the numbers and be able to trace a little bit of the flow charts here. As we mentioned, this is the first time that this regional energy flow chart has been calculated, and we want to thank Bart and Kurt for doing all the hard work of providing this estimate. And it's also the first ever graphical representation in terms of this flow chart. And this is a snapshot using 2011 data. As we've said, this is providing that baseline information so that we can start a plan for our region's energy future. All the numbers on here are measured in trillion BTU, or British thermal units. And for those of you who are new to this discussion, that's the amount of energy you need to raise the temperature of 1 pound of water 1 degree Fahrenheit. So as we go through this, we'll see on the left side of the chart will be our energy sources. And that's all the imported and primary generated sources of energy in the region. In total, that's 3,400 trillion BTUs for our region. As we go through the middle, you'll see the pipes representing the various energy flows, and the thickness of those pipes is proportional to the amount of the energy flow. And then in the middle are the various conversion nodes of how that energy gets converted for different useful purposes. And then on the right side of the chart is the final outcome. How that energy is either used, exported, or what's unused or lost. So we start with our end-use energy sectors. 39% of our energy is used for transportation. 29% of our energy is used for industry. And that's all of our manufacturing, industrial output, agricultural output, mining, construction. That energy leverages and is critical to the competitiveness of $36 billion of industrial activity in the P32 economy. 20% of our energy is for residential use, and 11% is for commercial use. Then you see in the middle, a significant amount of energy is converted to electricity. A lot of energy goes into this, and on the outside, we start getting enough retail electricity for 5.5 million homes, which by last count is a few more than we have in the P32 region. Starting at the base and building up, natural gas, which has been in the news a lot, and we're hearing a lot about our innovation in shale gas. In 2011, natural gas accounted for 20% of our energy. And this is a very versatile energy source, and you can see it being used in every element, converted to electricity, as well as every end-use energy sector. We also export almost half of our natural gas, enough for more than 4 million homes for an entire year. Petroleum is another significant element, but of all the petroleum we use, we're producing locally only 3% of that petroleum. Most of that petroleum is going to our transportation sector, so our transportation sector is highly dependent on this imported petroleum. Next, we look at our various renewables and alternative energy sources. And you may be surprised that this may be more than you thought that we actually produced. And if we look specifically at just those renewable energy sources from local production, and we discount all the imported fuel stocks, we have enough energy here for 353,000 households for 1 year. For wind and solar alone, we have enough energy for 55,000 homes for 1 year. Another interesting thing is we may think of ourselves as an oil and gas region, but we actually also produce more local biomass than we produce local petroleum. The nuclear, which is also significant, and you may question or note that this is indicated as imported energy. And that's because all of the uranium that goes into generating that energy is imported from outside the region. And this is one difference in how we've looked at our regional energy profile versus the US profile in terms of capturing the imports and exports into and out of our region. And then, of course, we have, last and certainly not least, coal, which dominates the region's energy profile. Coal accounts for 84% of the electricity generated, 75% of our regional energy production, and we export 38% of all that coal, which is enough for 8.8 million homes for 1 year. Now we start to see on the right side the flows going out and the outcomes. One thing you'll notice is that we are an energy exporter, not just coal, but across many forms of energy. In total, we export enough electricity for 4.5 million homes. In total, that amounts to about $24 billion worth of energy that we export from our region. Out of all this energy produced and exported, we have about 520 trillion BTU of useful energy that winds up getting used either for our residences, commercials, industrial activity, and commercial activity. And relative to this abundance of energy that we produce and generate, in 2011, for the 32-county region, more than 40% of the total energy produced and imported into the region was unused or lost through various forms of waste or heat loss in transmission, distribution, and generation. All of that unused energy is enough for 14.8 million homes for 1 year. And if it were used, the value of that, just that heat loss alone, would be worth $13 billion to the regional economy. So this analysis gives us that starting point and provides us with some important insights and thinking about the role of energy in our economy, and it challenges us to think about our region's future prosperity and resiliency.